Hey y'all, Jim here with Sunrise Farm. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Today happens to be a just absolutely gorgeous mid-October day down here in the south. We start our mornings at around, I think today was 49 degrees, and it'll get about 78 or so today. So for us southerners, this is kind of prime farming season for us when the weather cooperates with us and we don't feel like we're about to die out here in the heat and humidity. But anyway, I digress. Today's video is going to be about us prepping this bed over here, or at least about 2/3 of that bed, and we're going to be planting some strawberries. So let me show you the strawberries I have and just kind of show you what we're going to do, and we'll get to doing it. All right, so right here you can see I have 2 trays of strawberries. They are a variety called Camarosa. Last year we planted Chandlers, and those were awesome. This year they apparently had a problem due to Hurricane Helene with the Chandlers, which is what we had ordered, but they sent this variety instead, so we're going to try it out. This year we've ordered 100 plugs. So 2 trays of 50 plugs, and we're going to be putting them in our already one finished raised bed. I need to go ahead and get them in. I've had these for, I think this is the 3rd day now, so I need to get these in. I've been watering them and bringing them back to life. They looked a little dried out and peaked, but strawberries are very resilient. And then on top of us getting these in the ground, we're going to be doing some mulching. So we're going to be doing some mulching with this easy straw. This is just weed-free, seed-free straw, and we're going to bed those strawberries in. This will do a couple of things. This will help kind of keep them warm, but also it will help any dirt from splashing up on the leaves and eventually the strawberries next year when they start to come on. So here's our bed right here that we're going to be putting those 100 strawberries in. I have about 30 or maybe about 35 feet of this bed left. I have some carrots planted, a little bit of mustard in it. I'm trialing a new carrot variety that so far so good. We'll see when we get to the harvest, of course. But this bed is 4 feet wide. So in this 35-foot bed, I can get those 100 strawberry plants in here. One thing I do have to do is I have this bed filled with leaf mulch, and I need to take some, probably about 3 or so inches out of it. I have my tractor right behind the camera, off camera. But I need to take about 3 inches of leaf mulch out of it, and then I'm going to put down my cardboard paper, and then I'm going to put in some fresh compost that, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I got that pile of compost sitting there. So this is going to become a bed of compost. It'll be up flush with the top of the bed, and then we'll get to planting our strawberries. So let's get to it. And oh yes, my beds are big enough to get up in and stand, which makes it a little simpler to do certain bed prep and maintenance on it. kind of be true when I put the paper in and put the compost in and just kind of rake it all level and nice. It's a big help. You see how loose this bed already is with just leaf mulch. And when I had the leaf mulch all the way to the top of this bed, I purposely did so because it was my third filling. Because obviously leaf mulch, like any other organic material, will slowly decay and compress down. And so I wanted to get it as kind of in here as compressed as I could naturally, so that when I did get the opportunity to add compost, I was working with a solid bed. I mean, you can see I'm standing in it, so it's fairly solid, yet it's completely soft. I can stick my shovel through it without any problem whatsoever. Well, all right, so we got a couple of scoops out of this bed. So now we just need to rake it down level to about the bottom of the first 2x4. That'll give me about 3.5 inches of compost. Once I get it raked down level, then we'll go ahead and put our cardboard paper in there. We'll get to filling it. And then once we get to filling it, we're ready to plant. So let's carry on with getting this bed raked out and leveled down. All right, well, next step, obviously we need to compost, so let's get to it. Well, all right. So we've got 4 buckets full of compost in our bed. I'm going to go ahead and start raking it down, and just to see where we're at, see if I need any more than that or not. So yeah, let's just keep on going. Getting closer and closer. Well, it doesn't take very long to spread that stuff out because it's nice and loose. A couple of clumps here and there, but take care of them as we go. Definitely going to be probably 2 more buckets to complete the task. So let me go ahead and get that done. All right, so to fill that 4 foot wide by 30 foot long by roughly 3.5 inches deep of compost took, well, I got a little bit left over, so let's just say it took maybe 5.5 buckets I could have done it with. I spread it out a little bit down there and kind of packed it in the sides a little bit too. So anyway, I'm just going to shovel this off in my bucket and go throw it back on the pile. That's no big deal. Rather have enough than too little, right? So basically the final step is just to go ahead and do my layout. My layout for my strawberries will be 1 foot on center, so I'll start 1 foot in from the end. I'm going to do 3 rows across. I'm going to probably stagger the middle row just for a little bit of extra room. And yeah, so this bed will house 100 strawberry plants. Now I will say that 100 strawberry plants, as far as a market farm goes, is not a lot to market with. You know, I've mentioned before that our actual community farmers market here is quite small. But as far as, you know, a quantity, that's not a lot of quantity, obviously, to sell. But this is going to do 2 things. First and foremost, strawberries might just be my wife's #1 fruit she loves to eat. So that being said, this is as much for her as it is anything else. Last year when we planted those chandlers, we weren't prepared. We didn't have the raised beds set because we were going to try, instead of buying strawberries every year like a lot of farmers do, or even folks do, we were just going to try to propagate ours. So we were going to try to go in 3-year cycles and try to propagate bed after bed and develop basically 2 to 3 similar beds as you see here, to improve our yield and not to necessarily purchase plants every year. So as we develop this farm out, this market garden, and we develop these beds, and year over year we should gain more strawberries. And eventually we hope to have a decent little quantity to add to our farmers market. Again, we're not going to be strawberry farmers, so it's not like a neighboring farm I know that plants a couple thousand. That's not going to be us. But we're also going to see, now that we get them in a raised bed, and I'm going to, once I plant them, I'll put that straw mulch around them like I showed you the bag for, seed-free mulch. And so year over year, we hope to just be able to propagate them, you know, cut the runners, replant. And there are some, you know, some nuances to that, cutting or snipping the blooms off and various things to help. So we're going to try to do that year over year. So anyway, let me go ahead and get this little bit of compost out of here, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, well, it's time to start planting. As you can see here in my raised bed, I have put up 3 string lines from one end of this 50-foot long bed to the other. I have screws at 6-inch intervals on this bed at each end. So what I've done here is I'm 1 foot in. This is the dead center at 2 feet, and then at 3 feet, or if you go the other way, obviously. So these rows are 1 foot apart. And on those rows, we're going to be doing 1 foot plant spacing. So if you have trouble with just generally eyeballing plant spacing. There's a few ways you can do it. Generally, I will cut my wife some different sticks at different intervals for plant spacing just to make it easier. Of course, you can use a simple tape measure if you want. But just some other little tricks of the trade. In most hardware stores, Lowe's, Home Depot, what have you, paint sticks, paint stirrers. Some actually do have measurements on it like this one, but almost always these size sticks are 12 inches. This one's exactly 12 inches. It's like a 12-inch rule. So if I was going to plant my first plant 12 inches from the end, and on this case, I'm just going to plant on, if I'm standing on that side or this side, I'm going to plant on the outside of that string, and down the middle string, it doesn't matter, whatever side I start on, I will just stay on that side of the string. And then when I go to plant this center row, I'm going to start this plant at 12 inches. But when I start this plant, it's going to be at 6 inches. So, and it'll be 12 inches from there on out. That way, it'll be a kind of a stagger planting and just allow them just a little extra room, and maybe make it a little simpler to put in the mulch and what have you. So, all right, well, it's time to start putting them in. So clearly you can do this a couple of different ways. You could take all of these out and put them in a separate tray. I'm just going to see how easily they pull out of this. And if they don't pull out of this, then I'll do something different. Pulls out, so I'm just going to plant it like that. And all I'm trying to do now is just plant it at the top of basically what they've already given me. And it's as simple as that. Like I said, if you want to use this, you just keep going with it. If spacers, I should say, are easier for you, then do that. It may slow you down a fraction, but at least you'll get the proper spacing that you're looking for. The one thing that's real nice about compost is that it goes in pretty easy. You almost don't even have to dig a hole. You can almost just shove it in there. But all right, so I'm going to take a couple of minutes. Although they're popping out of that tray, they're all tangled up. So I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to pull them out of that tray and just put them in a flat tray. We'll be right back. All right, I've actually gone one step further. I just decided to take them all out of the trays and I've just laid them out. So we're going to get to planting. Like I said, that middle row is going to be 6 inches, starting at 6 inches instead of a foot, and it's just going to be offset kind of sort of to the middle, to the two outside ones rather. So the middle row will be slightly different. I'm going to put them in, and then the final step will be to water them extremely well. That's always a crucial step. The mulch, I'm actually going to wait maybe a week, 2 weeks. We don't get a frost, or shouldn't get our first frost for probably another 3 or so weeks. And I'm going to wait a little while for these to take hold before I put mulch around them. So the mulch will be the final step, but that's going to, like I said, I'm just going to let them establish a little bit. So anyway, let me get to planting. Well, all right, there you have it. You have nice working compost. It's very loose. It is not that complicated to quickly plant 100 plants. In all fairness, I think it took me actual time 20 minutes to plant all of these. 30 tops, but I think it was about 20. Final step, I just got to water it in, which I'll do in just a minute. All right, folks, so just to wrap up, these are our strawberry plants for the year, and I hope as I develop these big beds out that going forward in time, that each succeeding year, that I will develop about 3 rotating beds just like this of strawberries, so that I always have a couple hundred strawberry plants producing. That is the ultimate goal, but I don't want to keep buying them every year, so we're going to try to propagate these. And yes, these will put on strawberries each year, but as the years go on, they would diminish. So if you don't replenish your strawberry plants, you may not get as much as you want. Plus, you kind of sort of want to keep them under control growth-wise, space-wise. Also, like I said, I will put the mulch down. Probably not for 2-3 weeks, maybe even a little longer, to be honest with you. Once I know that they're fully established and I can see a lot of new growth. Also, before I put that mulch down, I will put drip irrigation in here, but the end of this bed, which is about 20 feet worth, I have carrots and mustard, and I need those to finish and come out so that I can, this compost here, so I can go ahead and finish this bed 100% with compost, because all of my irrigation runs from that end of the bed. So I'd rather have the bed finished before I actually put the drip in. So for the time being, I will just simply do it with an overhead sprinkler or a hand wand in the initial case here. But yeah, so if you got any questions or thoughts, please leave them in the comments. Always up to learn other techniques by other growers and see how y'all have done it for years. I will say, and I'm not going to be hypercritical about it, because I understand these came from Georgia, and I understand because they were supposed to be delivered actually a couple of weeks ago. Hurricane Helene kind of did a number on not only parts of Georgia, but certainly the shipping and all of that, trucking, roads, what and the like. So that being said, 2 of the plants out of the 100 were unviable. They were completely cut off from their roots and dead. And a lot of them have, which is not that uncommon to be honest with you, and a lot of them have a lot of dead and browning off leaves and only a very minor, minuscule green growth on it. But I will say, if you've ever planted strawberries or going to, as long as you have any type of real growth or root system or anything, go ahead, it'll normally catch up. Strawberries are extremely resilient. So out of 100, I only had 98 viable plants. As it turns out, that was just right for the space I had prepped. I'd probably had to just squeeze 2 more in the middle of these rows just to see what they did. But so yeah, so I'm not displeased with it. Also, because of that same delay, I noticed that a lot of these they were kind of root bound. So I know it's going to take them a little while to get over their transplant shock and to establish. I do think they'll be just fine because of the aforementioned resilience of strawberries. So anyway, yeah, just let me know your experiences. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell notification, bell icon to get notified of any future videos. We've had our own setbacks here on the farm, so we're trying to get past them. The 2 storms consecutively, Debbie and parts of Helene, in different ways did a number on us here. It's just been a thing, such is life, right? You keep moving on. The Lord is good regardless. So, yeah. So anyway, take care. God bless y'all. Have an amazing day in the Lord. and we'll see you in the next video.